We're here at Le Terrain. Le Terrain is in Ladysmith, Quebec, which is West Quebec. It's about an hour from Ottawa, in the Gatineau Hills, but sort of higher up into the hills. They call it the snow belt. We get longer winters, more snow. Before I came here, I was in full-time music production recording in Hudson, New York. I had a studio in a big Victorian house, and I was really busy recording people and continuing to write and record original music for soundtracks, commercials, and that kind of stuff. That's what I've been doing for a few decades before I became a crazy bushman. Yeah, I mean, there was a bunch of reasons that, like, it was a pretty extreme shift, right? To go from super social, super artistic community, first in Montreal and then in Hudson, New York. For decades, my life has been very social, very creative, and very full of music and people. And so, yeah, why did I leave all of that to live completely alone in the wilderness off-grid? That's a great question. I don't even know myself. I mean, there's reasons, there's a few reasons. I think the main thing is that I found this land. That's right. It's actually crazy how I found out that it was for sale. My mom found a link. My mom lives in Ottawa, and she's always trying to get me to come home. I was living in Montreal, and now I was in New York. Anyway, she sent me a link. And she said, hey, look at this link. I saw a house, off-grid house with 50 acres in Quebec. And I just went, did you send this to the wrong person? Like, I am not interested in this at all. And, I was planning to move from Hudson back to Montreal, continue in music. And for some reason, my mom found this link and she pushed. Like, she said, just check it out. I think you need to check this out. Check out the property. Give the guy a call. And I don't even know why, but I did. And I called the guy, had a nice talk with him, and he said that it wasn't 50 acres. There was a potential of 465 acres. And I was like, what is that even? That's like a national park. Like, that's interesting for the price it was at. So I started looking on Google Earth, and I saw like elevation. There's like a 300-foot elevation drop amongst 6 different peaks. It was like, wow, I could buy like a ski resort or something. Like, and okay, this is getting interesting. And so I took a drive up for a weekend just to see the property. And it was basically, I wanted to spend a weekend on a private wilderness park. Like, I brought my dirt bike, I brought a boat to put in the river, blow up boat to put in the river. I brought all kinds of stuff for like hiking. I just wanted to be in a total wilderness that wasn't a government park. And so I came up that weekend with my girlfriend at the time, and on the second day of total adventuring, mad, crazy adventuring. Like, I think now it was crazier that I did that now that I know what I was into, but I was down in the Queon. I was like, no map, no compass. Anyway, on the second day, I came to the peak I now called Mount Bald, or the Sacred Mount. And on that peak, I was hit with an epiphany. And I stood there in awe and kind of terror, thinking, oh my God, I'm buying this place. This is what I'm doing. Like, it just came like a flash. And it was just, I don't know, it was so beautiful in that spot in particular. And I was living here a month later.
Wow. What time of the season?
It was July that I visited. And once I had that epiphany, I became obsessed. I was calling the guy all the time from New York. I was like, take the ad down, I'm buying it. Like, and I was negotiating at the same time for the deal, because he was like, you can have the house in 50 acres, or you can have 150 acres, or you can have the house in 200. There are all these options, and I just said, I want it all. I want the park. And I became completely obsessed. I couldn't sleep at night. I was like, I need this. This is my life. This is my calling. I didn't even know what I was going to do. I came back within 2 to 3 weeks. I had negotiated the deal with him, and I'd come up with I mean, basically I was selling my house in Hudson that would pay for the whole thing, came up with bridge financing for the whole thing because I needed to buy this now, and then start selling my house in Hudson immediately. And I was living here a month later. Like, I moved into this house, it looked a lot different, inside and out. And there, I was here in August 15th, 2015, 9 years ago, I found myself here. When I arrived here, I mean, it was super off grid. I wasn't even really interested in the house. I just thought, okay, I'm buying the land, like the house is whatever, I guess I'll stay there. But, you know, no one had lived here in like 50 years or something. It didn't look like this. This room had 3 rooms, so it was dark, small. The ceiling was not exposed like that. It was dropped. There was a disgusting carpet. And like, it was a hunters. It was basically, they rented it to hunters every year. And so like a bunch of hunters stayed here for a couple of weeks a year. And that was it. Yeah, no water, no electricity, no, you know, off grid. I didn't even really know what that meant then, but I was just like, well, I guess I need some wood for this wood stove because winter's coming, and here I go. I had no idea what off-grid living meant, off-grid living in Canada in the wintertime. Like, in 2015, there weren't really, like, it wasn't popular. You couldn't go to a million YouTube channels and look at off-grid living and see what it's all about. I was just like, well, it can't be that hard. I mean, you just heat with the stove, and they got a spring here so I can drink from the spring. I'm good. And, but oh man, yeah, trial by fire. Is that the term? I was completely unprepared for what I was facing all alone. Oh yeah, there's no cell reception, no internet, no cell reception, by the way. So I couldn't even like connect with people. It was bonkers, and I could not have been less prepared. I had a bit of a buffer from selling my house. I could actually, I had a buffer zone of a bit of money just to be able to, I didn't have to work right away. So I gave myself a year to just see the property, to try to inform myself about what the hell I was going to do here. You know, like, I wanted to really spend a long time getting to know every corner of the wilderness to try to just come up with ideas of what would be best to do here. I mean, I basically had a couple of ideas. I had the idea that I would sell small lots of land to people, which was a crazy idea then because no one was interested in off-grid land. But my idea was like, maybe I could create like a little off-grid village, sell a bunch of lots to my friends. And, you know, I thought people would be a lot more interested when I got here and started doing it, but people weren't really interested. And so... yeah, that was my one idea, was sell bits of land as income. And then there was already like a very, very simple rustic cabin here. So I thought, okay, if I love this wilderness so much, there's got to be other people that want access to a wilderness like this. And maybe I can rent the cabin and like do something like that. Yeah, in 2015. So this was 9 years ago. The cabin culture had not started, right? The whole back to the land, the whole wilderness experience, cabin, off-grid stuff had not started. It wasn't on the radar. So, but I just felt like I drove all the way 8 hours here for a weekend, right? And I loved it. And I just felt like people are going to love this. People are going to need this. And like, it's good for you, right? So I thought that was my second idea of how to make income is, okay, I could maybe build more cabins and get a whole cabin scene going here, and that'd be my income. Sounds amazing. Okay, so my first option was to sell a few pieces of land, create the village. Second option, and in combination, would be to start this cabin land with a bunch of different cabins. My third option was get out. Like, if I can't handle this, if I always thought, well, you know, I'm getting it for a good deal, maybe I'll have a good time for a year, maybe 2, but I'll just sell it and get out and return to Montreal, what I was doing, music and stuff like that. Well, I realized pretty quick that the third option was not an option, because first of all, I couldn't sell it. I mean, I tried 3 years in when I was in absolute hell. I was like, I need to get out. I need to sell. I couldn't sell it. And I mean, I didn't really try, but I wanted to sell it at a profit. Anyway, it wasn't an option, but I also couldn't go back to my career. You know, I started realizing even a year in, it's like, you can't just walk away for a year. You know, it would have been really hard. My whole mentality changed. And so, yeah, that third option, ooh, it went away. So I'm like, okay, I need to sell land. I need to rent cabins. Let's go. And that brings me to the cabin that was originally here, the one I now call Dog Star Cabin. Well, so now fast forward to 2024, and the project has kind of been realized. I've actually sold 5 lots to different people that are building their off-grid homes here. So the off-grid village has started, and they're all people I've known for a long time, close people, good people. So that's kind of a dream come true, that the village has started. But almost more importantly, and what I'm really excited about the project, what it's become, is this wilderness park. So it's not just, you know, an individual cabin rental here and there, 1 or 2 nights. People drive from, you know, I had people coming from the States, from Toronto, from all over the place to rent a cabin for the night, and they'd leave. And now, that wasn't quite working. So the project's evolved into what I call the Le Terrain Wilderness Park. And this is a membership model where people can buy memberships to the park. And so they have daytime access for hiking, walking, dogs, exploration every day of the year. But they also have access to the cabins. And it's really changed how the mentality of the people that come here. Because I developed such a deep relationship with the land, like getting to know a wilderness property like this over years is a profound experience. To be able to go walk out in that without fear of getting lost, because you know where the mountains and the creeks and how the topography and the natural landscape works, is a really profound and beautiful spiritual endeavor. And I wanted to share that. I didn't want people to just come and rent a cabin for a night and leave and, like, you know, and complain about a spider in the corner, or that the grounds weren't landscaped. You know, I wanted people to come and experience the wilderness, and the cabins were almost secondary. You make a nice, beautiful cabin so to come back to after you have explored the wilderness. So I have a map now and an app that you can download where you can navigate the entire place with the app and our specific Le Terrain map. So it's become a project really where members feel a kind of an ongoing relationship with the land. They feel kind of a connection to it. They have more respect for it. They give more to it, and they take more from it if it's an ongoing relationship, getting to know the wilderness. So that's sort of come up in the past couple of years, and I'm really, really excited about the whole concept because it's working. There's a bunch of people that are members here, and they come during the week. And the big thing is it's a private park, okay? It's a members park. So you're not going to have some warden in like Gatineau Park. Did you know it's not legal to walk off trail in Gatineau Park? Like, this made me crazy. What kind of a wilderness experience is that if you're going to get a fine for not walking on the trail? I mean, where are people getting their wilderness experiences, real wilderness experiences? And that's actually, that concept is happening. People love that. I've heard people complain about crowded trails in Gatineau Park. You don't have that here because there's a maximum of how many people can be on the trails, and there's no rules. I mean, there's just rules that make sense, right? Be careful with fire and blah blah blah. But it's not a government place. It's a private place where like-minded people gather. And I think that's really special as a concept for people. And it's what initially brought me here. I wanted to come to a private park, to ride my dirt bike and to camp where I wanted and do what I wanted without anyone telling me, you know, what the rules were or whatever. And that's what drew me here. And it seems like that's what's bringing people here to become members. So it's a really beautiful thing. I couldn't be happier. Happens slow, takes years to prove a concept and then to share that concept. Especially like, you know, charging for a membership to the wilderness in Canada. All we have is wilderness. So it seems like a weird concept, but I've realized that people have become so disconnected from wilderness that they won't just go walk onto Crown land. They won't just walk in the wilderness unless they have trails, they have a destination, they have some infrastructure. And I guess that's what I provide. I've kind of like curated the land. I've created a 20-kilometer trail network and that map that goes with it. And then there's these cabins all over the whole property. So people feel safer. They feel like, because they've been sort of given literally a map, but also metaphorically a map to navigate this wilderness, that's what really appeals to people. Because it's still wild. We have moose, we have wolves, we have everything. It's a multi-diverse ecosystem. So it's completely wild, and yet it's somehow, I've kind of tamed it for people. It makes people comfortable coming here and being in the wild. So I didn't even know that concept would come together, but it kind of did, and that's the really special one. So now Le Terrain has become this wilderness park, and it's the Le Terrain Wilderness Park, which is basically 430 acres of pure wilderness over 6 peaks with 20 kilometers of trails and the map and the app that goes with it so that you can navigate yourself. And I've also started a nonprofit organization called Earth and Sky that is bringing the region's first dark sky park, official dark sky park for nighttime observation. So this is a daytime and nighttime experience here for people to come and enjoy all kinds of wilderness stuff. I'm working with the municipality on that dark sky project and the Royal Astronomy Society of Canada. And so that dark sky park will be, you know, Ottawa's official dark sky park coming sometime this year. It'll be official, but we have a map for it and everything. And so it's really exciting how far it's come, this park. And you can come here to see the stars. We have a designated stargazing place. You can come and leave, or you can come and take a cabin and watch the stars through the skylight all night long. And we have one cabin specifically we built just to look at the stars. So yeah, it's about daytime, nighttime, 24/7, 365 days a year, wilderness, gorgeosity, off-grid. Off-grid is not being connected to city services, so electricity, water, sewage. We are unconnected. But we do now, as of this year, have Starlink, which means we're still off-grid. That's a confusion to some people. Just because we have internet, we're still off-grid. It's connected services, which are not here. We provide our own water, electricity, sewage, and totally independent, sustainable. I gotta say, I'm really, really happy with what's come over the past 9 years. I never could have imagined that the world would take such interest in off-grid stuff, in getting back to nature, in the stars. It seems like in the time I've been here, the whole world has gotten interested in what I'm doing. So or in this type of lifestyle. So I'm super happy. I could not have predicted this. So right now, in terms of infrastructure, I've got this beautiful log house, the original settler's house, which I've renovated, and We've got the cabin on the hill, the one that was here when I bought the place, but it was a very, very sort of rustic hunter's cabin. So I renovated that too. And the view up there is absolutely like one of the best in all of Gatineau Park. It's incredible. And then we built a yurt. It's the only one of its kind in Canada. It's this design that comes from Maine. It's a wooden yurt. And then the last cabin we built was the Stargate cabin, which was built to view the stars through the huge skylight at the top of the cabin. And so that's basically the infrastructure here. I've got plans for the barn. I've got plans for the original log house here. Actually, the permits were not that hard to get because the main thing is I have my main house here. It's my official residence and a huge amount of land. So it was pretty easy in La Pêche. They gave me a designation to get permits for all my cabins. And I think I'm allowed to build, with this amount of land, a ridiculous amount of cabins, like 75 or something. I would never build more than 7. But yeah, it's all legal and permitted. And so in La Pêche municipality, it's pretty easy to build what they call kind of a hunting cabin, I guess, or it's a chalet. It's as long as it's 12 by 16, and you give them a rough sketch. Oh, and you need soil samples. I had to get soil samples for the gray water systems. So that's basically it. You show them where. It's got to be 100 feet from a wetland. You've got to have your soil tested to make the gray water systems. You give them a sketch and they give you your permit. It's pretty easy. Oh yeah. You also need a survey. Yeah, exactly. You need the survey to show exactly where the cabin is going. And I think that's a lot about to make sure it's the right distance from a wetland. That's right. Yeah. So my lifestyle here is pretty free. I can't imagine a more free lifestyle. And I say free in that I never really have a schedule unless there's something coming up that I have to prepare for. I basically just wake up, get the fire going, have a coffee, and I usually just go for a huge long walk. I mean, that was my routine for 8 years until I lost my best friend, Mr. Wolfie, Mr. Anook. But we would start with a long hike, and I still start my day like that. And if it's not a hike, it's on the snowmobile or it's on my Suron, the electric dirt bike. Because to me, the trails and the land, they're as important as the buildings and the cabins. Absolutely. So basically, I wake up and I hit the outdoors no matter what the weather's like. I check out the trails. I want to make sure that the trails are clear. There's trees that fall down all the time, so I'm always working with a chainsaw to keep the whole trail network going. And then there's always a list of stuff with all the cabins. I mean, I'm dealing with 4 roofs here. I'm dealing with 4 gray water systems, 4 12-volt systems, 4 propane systems, 4 fireplaces. It's really, there's a lot of upkeep, little things with the cabins every day. So I kind of just see how it goes, see how my day goes. I allow myself the freedom to do what I want when I want. And I can do that because I work every day of the week. And I can work every day of the week because I love it. Here's the map of Le Terrain. This is the property. It's outlined in green here, and the map maker, Francois, at the MRC made it for us. He's a big dark sky enthusiast. He comes and gives sky tours of the night sky. And anyway, he made this. These are all the trails I've made, but there's like twice as many now. But it amounts to about 20 kilometers of trails. So you drive in Fire Robin Road. Here we are in the main compound where the barn and the log house is. Across the road, up here is the yurt. And then if you go down the road onto this beautiful peninsula surrounded by this beaver pond, you get to Stargate Cabin. And the most remote and greatest view here is at Dog Star right here, because you're looking over the Queon Valley. The Queon River actually starts here. It's spring-fed. It starts to be called the Queon River, and then it goes all the way to the Ottawa River. But Le Terrain, as you can see from Dog Star, goes on both sides, and this is a 300-foot valley, which is one of the most beautiful views in all of the Gatineaus. There's 6 peaks here. These are the great ancient ruin stone mysteries, which I don't know if we have time to get into today, but now this, people ask about this. This is a old colonial road, they call it. It's all covered. I've seen it now. You can kind of see the shadow of it, but this is how the original settlers got in. Before Fire Robin Road, they had these 2 strips of 200 acres. That was their land. They were given when they were in Germany or whatever, and they had to find somewhere to build their house on this. They came all the way here, I guess because there was a river running through here, but they had to cross this Queon. I can barely hike it. So I've found the old settlers trail, and they did this with a horse and buggy, and I can't even do it on a snowmobile. I don't know how they got up here. And this goes to the 366. So their journey was epic. I can't even imagine how they got here, let alone once they did build this house with an axe. Like, what were these people? They were superhuman. Amazing. Anyway, that's the Burke Road right there.